What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Patio. My name's Jake. You're watching Rum and Cook, and today on the channel we're going to address the elephant in the room. What's that, you ask? Well, the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe. It's out. It's starting to have some videos of it out there, and wanted to kind of talk about my opinions on it. And I've waited for a little bit. I did see Atlas, I think, is a company that makes it. They put out some videos early last year on it, and I had some pretty strong opinions right out of the gate, but I wanted to keep them to myself and not share them until I had a little bit of time of reading and watching some more videos. I have not played with one. This is purely speculation from me watching videos and doing some reading about it and kind of using my knowledge. A couple years on this guy, and owning actually two different Traegers. First one actually was about 8 years ago, and at that point in time we lived in a townhouse. I had a little 8x10 deck. I was in Costco. Guy talked me into buying one and said it made amazing chicken, and I brought one home and I was like, if it doesn't work out, it's Costco, I can always take it back. And I'll tell you what, they do make some good chicken. But what I did is I cooked on that thing every single day for just over 3 weeks, almost a month. I even rolled it over to my neighbors one time for a get-together, and I grilled it on that, did some ribs and stuff, and I put that thing through its paces. As we were approaching the month, my wife kind of said to me one day, she's like, "So, what do you think of the Traeger?" And I said, "Well, it makes some damn good chicken." And she looked at me, she said, "You are not having two grills on that patio, that deck. There's just not enough room," right? It was an 8x10 deck. There was no way that was going to happen. At the time, I had a Weber Smoky Mountain little drum type smoker, and I could smoke, right? I'm a steak guy and a burger guy, and the Traeger just didn't do that very well back then at all. I took that back, and then fast forward a bunch of years to 2.5 years ago, and someone I work with had bought one, and I was like, I don't know, dude, I think you probably made a mistake, had a bad experience, blah, 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 blah. Did a bunch of research, and they rolled out the D2 controller. Smoking was improved. They came up with some new models, so I tried one, and played with an ironwood for about a month, and definitely some improvements. They started up quicker, more smoke. Traeger does an amazing job on their app. I got to give them that. But again, we weren't any further with the searing ability and some of the things that I really liked about grilling that just couldn't do. I could do smoking and things on other grills. So, there wasn't really a strong desire for me to keep that either. And then I started to do some more research, because the one thing about a pellet grill is to set it and forget it. I've said this many times, right? I can come home, I can turn on the pellet grill, I can throw some meat on, like some chicken, walk away, and not have to babysit it. And I do like that about that. So then I started to do research, and I came up with my Yoder. Yoder has, when I bought it, was an option. You would remove the diffuser door, and you could sear over the firebox, which is awesome. Now that's actually included. With all that kind of background, I think that I can kind of talk intelligently about it and maybe add some of my thoughts if you're in the market for one, and why I'm as opinionated as I am. And I'm not gonna say that Yoder's the best thing out there. I'm about to do a 2-year review video on it. I've used it all winter. There are definitely some frustrations that have creeped up, and I'm going to share that in another video. It's still a great product. I use it probably 3 or 4 times during the week, as long as it's not raining. But there are definitely some things that I'm not super thrilled with, and I think that some things that can be improved. With all that being said, my goal here is to kind of talk about some pros, some cons, some general concerns, some things I think they missed, right? They have all this research, all these companies around them that have made improvements, and they could have spent a little bit more time changing a couple things. And then pricing and warranty, just so you've kind of got the full package. So let's talk about some of the pros right away. I think it's a pro that it's a great looking product, right? It looks like the Kamado Joes. For those of you who don't know, I had a Kamado Joe Big Joe, the lump powered version for several years before I bought my Kamado, and I'm a fan, right? Like if Kamado's not in your budget range, I highly recommend a Kamado Joe. I think it's a great product. You know, I loved it. It's still going. You know, I sold it to my buddy. He uses it all the time, and I think that they're a great product. They look good. It's got a nice coating on the outside, so you're not going to have any problems like rust and things like that. You're going to have problems with this on rust. There's no doubt about it. In fact, the rust is a little bit more than I initially anticipated. You can see some rust here, right? You can see some rust here. I'll show you later on up here, but you can see some down the sides. If I pull this guy off here, right, there's some rust along the bottom. And rust is probably the #1 question I get about the Yoder. Does it rust? And they do, right? This is steel, okay? It's going to rust, especially when it's exposed to moisture. But Yoder's thought about it is that this is all surface rust. Light sanding, this will come right off. They give you some matte black paint with it, and when you use a matte black paint, it'll blend in and you'll be able to make it look like brand new without even knowing that there was a repair done, right? And their thought process is the Yoder's is stamped. If you gouge into that, it's going to rust. You're not going to be able to repair that without it looking like crap. So you know, their thought is that, you know, you can now repair this anytime down the road. You know, it's got a 10-year warranty on the unit itself, and you can just sand it and repaint it. Now, the rust problem doesn't have to be as bad as it is. I think a lot of it is self-inflicted, and that's just due to the cover, right? The cover is thin, it's expensive. It's $125 for some fabric that's lined with some plastic that doesn't hold back any water, right? I would call it water resistant at best, not waterproof. And you know, it's gone now, but when I took this off 45 minutes ago, there was water all on top of here, and this thing's been covered, right? It rained last night, water gets through that cover. That's a problem, right? Especially if you've got something that you know that kind of rusts, build a better cover for it. And you know, this thing has only ever seen water once, and that was when I was doing my 10 pounds of pellets in the winter, and it was, you know, it was below freezing. I think it was like 27, and then we got some freezing rain, and this thing got covered in a little bit of ice while we were doing that thing. So that's the only time it's really seen the rain. So I would not expect it to have as much rust as it does. I keep my grills covered all the time, and it doesn't even if it's not going to rain overnight, I will cover it at the end of the night. So if anything, I've covered this thing more than anybody else normally would because I'm anal. Enough about the rust, right? I'm going to address this in another video. I'm going to do a 2-year review video of this coming up and share some things that I've learned and some experience over the last another 6 or 7 months here. But the Kamado Joe, it's got a nice coating on the outside of it. It's going to be maintenance free. You're not really going to have a lot of problems with it. So I think that that is a pro for them. Another pro for them is when you look at this, right, you've got one surface here, and then in my case, I've got a surface up here. There is a big temperature difference between the bottom and the top. I think all pellet grills except for the Kamado Joe do that, right? The Pellet Joe, it's got a dome. We've got very heavy ceramic on the top of it that sucks up the heat and fires the heat back at the meat. So if you get their little grill expander, the temperature difference between the bottom and the bottom of the grill and the top of the expander rack, it's within degrees, like single-digit degrees. Very, very good. This guy, you're going to have some temperature difference. Now, if you play with this enough, you're going to know that, or you could just do some tests. But you know, if I've got 4 briskets or 4 butts or something on there, we just rotate them around. It's not a big deal. You just have to know that that's going to happen. Now here, I've got the little half shelf in here. It comes with the full shelf. I generally run with a half shelf all the time, just because I can get back in here and I don't have to worry about that. But if you're doing a lot of food, you can use your full rack. So temperature wise, they do very good. Fuel efficiency, right? This guy burns pellets. They cost money. They cost a lot, depending on where you live and depending if you've got somewhere where you can get them in bulk. And obviously they're 20-pound bags, so they're heavy. So when you get them in bulk, you've got to get freight to do that. But you can definitely save some money on them. But they add up, right? I think the Pellet Joe used on like 10 pounds of pellets, 11 pounds of pellets, it'll go like 12 to 14 hours, they say. That's pretty phenomenal, right? I have not done a test on this in the spring or the summer. I'm going to be doing that soon. We're going to do the same 10-pound thing. I'm going to see how long it lasts. But in 2 years, only for a video, that's the only time I ever thought about seeing how long it went. I don't care. You know, to me, it's kind of like if you buy a vet and you're worrying about gas mileage, right? You don't buy a Corvette to worry about gas mileage, right? Pellet grills use pellets, and owning one is just, it's the cost of owning one, right? So I never really think about it. You know, there's a wealthy guy that I read his books and stuff, and he's got, you know, he bought a jet, and one of his friends asked him, you know, how much it cost to fill the jet, and he's like, I don't know, dude. The jet doesn't fly without fuel in it. Why do I care about how much fuel it has in it? Same kind of principle for this. I don't think that that's a big deal. But, you know, if you're conscious about that, the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe definitely shines there. So that's another pro. Another pro for them is the Joe Dough accessory, right? That's for pizza. Pellet grills struggle with pizza. The first time I ever made a pizza on this guy, I did it on film. We did the pizza battle, and it didn't turn out the best. I really wasn't thrilled with it. Some people commented that I didn't, you know, I had it running at 450. Why didn't I turn it up? I'm going to make another pizza video on this. I haven't made pizza on it since, but I'm going to figure out how to make a better pizza for you guys. And I'll just kind of experiment and we'll see what happens. But the Dojo, what it does is you close the top on it, and it goes inside, so it's open, you know, this much. The pizza slides inside, and now you've got a pizza stone that gets heat soaked, and then you've got hot air going over the top of the pizza, and it looks like it makes a great pizza. And on a pellet grill, that's an accomplishment. So they should definitely be proud of that. I think that that's good. I don't know what other accessories they're going to come out with. I mentioned that the expansion rack does work on that guy, so you can get a little bit more cooking area. But you know, overall, I think it's got some good pros to start with. So let's kind of get into the cons. The first con right out of the gate, and I noticed this right when I saw it, is you got to vacuum that thing every single time you want to use it. That's annoying, right? You're the last one to market, and you didn't think about the fact you'd have to vacuum it every time you use it. You know, this guy. We've got our diffuser door that we remove. And then we've got this tray that inserts in. Every time before I use it, I literally just dump it in there and start it out. If you look in here, look at all the pellet ash I've got in here. I haven't cleaned this thing in 2 months. Right? Now I'm leaving it a little longer than I normally would, just because I'm going to do another cleaning video on it. But this whole thing is full of pellet ash here. I don't have to get a vacuum out every time I start to cook it, and that to me is a problem. So another concern is in both the low and slow and the higher temperature cooking, and here's what I'm talking about. I think that the distance between the diffuser plate and the grill is fairly tight, but more importantly, that diffuser bottom plate is very thin metal. And the reason why I think that is because if you look at the searing videos, anyone you've seen out there, it's glowing red over the firebox, right? To be glowing red, it's got to be kind of thin, I would think. But more importantly, if you look at some of the low and slow cooks, you can start to see a darkness on the bottom of the meat. At a higher temperature chicken, it was dark along the bottom as well, right? This guy is thick. I can crank this up at 450. I can put a chicken breast, boneless chicken breast on there for 20 minutes, right over top of the firebox. I'll get some nice like grill marks and some charring on it, but it's not gonna go black, it's not gonna burn. So I don't know if it's a combination of the two, if they just changed that lower panel and made it a little bit thicker, if that'll help diffuse the problem, no pun intended. But I think that, you know, it's a concern. So is it a con? I don't know. It's a concern that I think that can be addressed. You know, the other thing that I'm seeing is that, you know, I watched the guy from Atlas, and he did a pulled pork on it. He shut it at 200, right? No one smokes food at 200. Right? We always smoke at 225, usually 250, depending on what we're trying to do. And in a couple other videos I'm seeing, it looks like when you set the temperature to 250, that's the dome temperature, not the grate temperature. So that's a problem. That's going to confuse some people, something that people that use it need to know. But more importantly, I think it's something that Kamado Joe should reprogram. It's a firmware upgrade. It's a very easy fix, but you should be aware of it. Another con is the temperature control. So if you look at one, number one, there's a dial, right? It's got an off switch, then it's got wireless mode, and then it's got a dial with smoke, grill, sear, but no degrees on there, which I find extremely odd, right? I know it goes from 200 to 600 degrees, but you can't really look at that dial and figure out what temperature you're at. You've got a guideline for the type of cooking you're trying to do, but I don't know why they didn't just put the number of degrees around the outside. Or it's 2021, why not make it digital? Why is it a rotary dial? But what really annoys me about it is that it's wireless or manual mode, right? So if you turn the dial and you're inside and company's arriving early and you want to speed up your food a little bit, you can't go on your phone now and turn up your grill. You've got to walk out here and turn it up, right? And vice versa. If you start it with your phone and you're inside relaxing, waiting for something to happen, and you come outside, you forget your phone, and now you're like, all right, I want to speed it up or I want to slow it down, whatever. Now you got to walk inside and get your phone. I mean, that just, there's no logic there whatsoever, right? You should be able to do both. You know, Yoder partnered with Fireboard, and while the app is not nearly as good as a Traeger, you know, Traeger's got various recipes and all kinds of stuff. It's very nice on that one, but temperature control wise, you know, I can turn it up here, I can turn it on my phone, whatever you want, but with the Pellet Joe, it's one or the other, and I don't understand why they would do something like that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And yeah, it seems small and petty, but wait till you've let your phone inside and you can't turn down your grill or something. Like, you do adjust a grill, right? It's just the nature of cooking. So I think that was a design flaw on their part. All right, so not too many concerns. Some I think that are easily changed and fixed, but let's get into some missed opportunities. And when I say missed opportunities, I mean Kamado Joe is the last in the market right now, right? They've got all these other brands to learn from. Traeger's been at it for many, many years. They've had lots of design changes, and you know, even Weber tried to get into this a couple of years ago. And you know, when Weber got in, I was excited. I remember helping my dad put together his first Weber barbecue, and he had a couple Weber barbecues. I had a Weber Summit, I had a Weber Smoky Mountain. It's a Ford versus Chev thing, right? I was a Weber guy. So when I saw they were getting into the pellet grill market, I was excited, and I thought, all right, this could be really good. Now, obviously, we know now they had some problems, but you know, I don't know where it is. I don't know if they've fixed the problems or where they're at. To be honest, I have not. I haven't followed up on it since the initial issues happened. But now you've got Kamado Joe getting in the market. They've got all these brands to learn from, and they could have taken advantage of some things. You know, the first one that comes to mind is the ability to drain your pellets. right? What happens when you want to go from cherry to mesquite, or, you know, oak to hickory, whatever you want to mix up, you want to change your pellets, you got to scoop them out. This guy's got the same problem, right? And I like to change my pellets. It's annoying. I've got to get a 5-gallon bucket, scoop them out, empty it out, put some more pellets in there, and I'm done, right? On a Traeger, you've got a little back door there with a screw. You just open it up, and a chute opens up, and they drop into a bucket, and you're done. Why didn't Kamado Joe do something like that? On that topic, the door, right? So someone decided that, hey, let's have a door that swings sideways. Oh, let's give them a scoop to put their pellets in there. I don't understand the logic behind that. Like, why didn't you just make the door open down so you could use that as a slide and just drop your pellets, you know, cut up the corner of your bag, drop your pellets in there, they go right in there, no problems, you're done. But no, the door opens up sideways and you've got a scoop. I just think that particular door doesn't make sense to me. Another one would be the rotary dial. I mean, not necessarily the rotary part of it, but the fact that it's analog, right? Like, there's no temperature markings on it, and it's just got words on it. Like, why didn't you just put the degrees on it at least? But it's 2021, why didn't you make it digital? Right? Like, I'm a tech guy, so I'm probably more sensitive to it than others. But, you know, in 2021, I don't expect to have a rotary dial like that. I talked about the differences with the wireless and it being either or. So I think that was its own little issue there. But, you know, I don't understand why there's a rotary dial there and not digital temperature gauges of some sort. That part doesn't really make sense to me. The other part is the removable door, right? Yoder's got it, Pitts and Spitz has got it. There's one other company I think that has it. Like, if you're coming into the market late, why not give that ability? I mean, it works great. You see lots of people searing over direct fire and stuff like that. It is an advantage, especially if you only have one grill. Right? Now, you can do some searing with it. You can get some cast iron, you can get some grill grates, and you're still going to get some decent searing with it. But the ability to open up the door and get some fire directly on your food or on your grill grates, you know, this thing sets at 600 degrees. With grill grates, it goes up to like 800. When I open up that door, I can get it 750 in there all day long, super easily. So I think that they probably could have improved on that. So there's a couple little areas where I think they missed the mark on. They could have invented a little bit more, right? Or taken advantage of some changes that are out there today that they could have capitalized on. So let's talk a little bit about cooking surface area and price. If you look at the Yoder, this 640 here, we have 620 square inches roughly on the bottom. You add in the top rack, the full rack that it comes with, and it's 1,070, right? The 480 has got 460 roughly on the bottom and 800 in total with the top rack. The Pellet Joe has, you know, just over 200 on the bottom. If you spend extra money to get the expansion rack, I think it's 80 bucks or something, it's cheap, but you'll get up to 400. So $2,000 for the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe. I can get a 480 for $17.79, save myself 200 bucks. Well, I would buy the expansion rack, so really I'm going to save myself 300 bucks, and I'm going to get twice the cooking area. Step up another 200 bucks, apples to apples. Now I've got 1,070 square feet, almost 3 times the cooking area that you have for a $2,000 Pellet Joe. So, you know, I think they missed the mark on price. I think it's overpriced. You know, they're at the top end of the market. Like, Yoders are not cheap. They're made in the U.S. This is steel. These are hand welded and stuff like that. I mean, it costs. You know, this is not like other companies where they're made in China, and they can save some money on some of the labor. But you know, if you're going to come out with that price point, I think that you need to have a little bit more cooking area. I think it's high. Warranty wise, the ceramics I think is lifetime, and the electronics is 5 years if I'm correct. I'm not 100% sure on that. I tried to read the manual on the website, it wasn't working, but I'm pretty sure it's like that. This guy is 10 years on the body and 3 years on the electronics, 3 years on the ceramic igniter that's user replaceable. So overall they're pretty good. I mean, this guy, if you take care of it, it's going to last, right? Don't let the rest build up and not take care of it. So I think warranty-wise and longevity, I think they're in line there. But again, price point, I think that I just think that the Kamado Joe is priced a little high. So that's kind of my general overview. Hopefully you got some value out of this, and maybe you agree. If you don't agree, go ahead, hit that thumbs down. I'm totally okay with that. If you'd like to hit the thumbs up. Either way, a little bit of action there helps me with the YouTube algorithm. If you liked this type of video or you like grilling, please subscribe to the channel. Normally I'm doing a lot more cooking, and in fact what I'm going to do is we're going to fire this up and I'm going to cook a couple things. We're going to add in some things to the video, but in general, we're either using the Kamado, we're using the Lynx, we're using the Yoder, but we're cooking and having some fun out here on the patio. So if you're into that, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.